Dennis here from Submission Radio with the half of the UFC 193 main event, Holm. Holly, I have to ask you, the hair today, it's long, it's nice. Are we going for best pound for pound hair in the UFC? And do you think you have what it takes to beat Lyoto Machida in that category?
I think I do have what it takes to beat in that. I actually think that they did stats for a fight on AXS TV, and part of the stats was hair length.
Really? And you were sort of up the front on that stat.
I think I was number one.
Let's talk about yesterday. You call out a fan from the crowd to do a bit of sparring with you. Fan's a big Holly Holm supporter, comes out and then starts throwing some push kicks at you. They looked a little bit hard. How hard was she kicking you there?
She was going for it, but I told her, I said, I want you to kick me, all right? So, you know, I was doing that with my coach right before. I'm sure she probably saw we were kind of, letting kicks go a little bit. So we do that in practice all the time to warm up. Obviously you want to flex when they're kicking you.
It looked like there was some extra flexing going on there. I mean, we were on the side of the stage and some UFC people on the side of the stage were like, oh God, yeah. We hope she does a kick in her rib here. Is she potentially going to be signed by Coach Wink as the next big star from Albuquerque?
You know what? She was awesome. I just thought, I'm going to bring someone up from the crowd, and if there's somebody that's that excited. So as soon as I asked if somebody wanted to come up, she just was ecstatic. So I thought, come on up here. Let's get involved for a while. You
had a bit of a look at the stadium just here before. It's just a few days away now. What are you thinking? Like when you saw the stadium just before, what went through your mind? Because it's a pretty crazy sight right now.
Oh, it's amazing. It's breathtaking. It looks different right now. Before they didn't have all the lights and the signs and, the banners put up. They did have the roof open before, and I just got to see the floor, the grass, and how big it was, how massive it was. It was just breathtaking. But with all the lights and everything, it just makes it more real. The fight's here, it's now, it's time. So it's exciting.
Ronda Rousey mentioned that she thought you were the future of the division, and once she retires, she thinks you'll be champion. However, obviously, the big opportunity is going to be this weekend. What are your thoughts on those kind of statements?
I'm going for it now. I'm not waiting. I'm going for it right now. So I don't want anything to be handed to me later. I want to work hard for it right now.
You're a lot like me. We're very impatient. What about the statement that she made in the Embedded where she said she was actually keeping her eye on you long before you came into the UFC? Apparently her and her team knew you guys would be fighting eventually, and they've been preparing for a while. Did you know this was what was going on, and did that kind of surprise you?
No, I think that she's the competitive mind and the competitive type that wants to be able to, in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I think that they knew I would be coming, and this is a whole different aspect, a whole different style of fighter. So it's somebody that they would want to face just as I had my eyes on her. I just knew that it would happen eventually. As long as she was still champion and as long as I was still winning to get there, I knew that it would happen. So I was looking at her from the get-go as well.
There were a few issues trying to get into the UFC, then all the injuries that happened. Now you're finally here. I mean, it's been a really long journey if you think about it. Thinking back to where you started and where you are now, just on the cusp of having that title shot, is that kind of surreal that everything just fell into place and was able to come along in this kind of opportunity?
Absolutely. I've never had injuries in fighting ever. And to have two huge injuries within a year with no fights in between right before I had my first fight in the UFC was big. It was a big deal. A lot of mental, kind of battles on that. It wasn't just small injuries, they were big injuries, and I just thought, at least we got them all done in 1 year.
Did you have any point during those injuries where you thought it might not happen, where you thought maybe I should just sort of give it in and go back to boxing?
No. As far as boxing, I'm just not passionate about it anymore. I loved it. I'm very appreciative and blessed for my career I had there. I'm very appreciative of all the fans and supporters for women's boxing, but the reason why I'm not boxing anymore is because I really don't feel that drive and that passion for it anymore. And so no matter what, I wouldn't go back to boxing.
What would you do, become a professional swimmer perhaps, or a different kind of sport?
I think I would have to do something competitive. I don't think I can go my life without doing something competitive. I do love it.
Now, speaking of the matchup, obviously your advantage is in the boxing. Having a look at Ronda's boxing before in the previous fights, like against Betch, there's obviously some areas where she's not as technical as you. What is your analysis of her boxing? Do you think she's as good as some people say she is?
Confidence makes any fighter good, and I feel she feels very confident in her punching. She does obviously have power when she lands that shot because she's got 3 knockouts, one from a body shot, knee, and then, two from punches. But there's still holes in everybody's game. So we see those holes, and really it's just coming to performing. Could she win standing up? Anything can happen. So I'm definitely prepared to be, defending everything from the hands all the way down to the ground.
Now, obviously, just a few days out, you got a lot of messages of support from fans. Have you got any messages from Albuquerque, guys like Jon Jones, Tim Kennedy, Donald Cerrone, John Dodson, any of those guys giving you any little hints of advice leading into, such a massive, massive fight?
I just got a text from Jon Jones, just a motivational one, Bible scripture, just kind of just keeping it down to earth and keeping it real, and just some of the teammates just saying, "You're gonna do this. We know it."
Final question before I go, Coach Wink. He's been with you for a really, really long time. It's been possibly one of the greatest relationships that I've seen in combat sports. What will this win mean to both of you if you're standing in this middle of the octagon in front of 70,000 people? He's by your side, and he was by your side from the very beginning. What will that mean for both of you? Because we know Wink, he's not an emotional guy, but it's got to be something special.
He's not an emotional guy, but I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I'll probably just weep like a little baby. But there's a lot of people that have supported me over my whole career, but nobody's spent as many hours helping me get there as he has. So, yeah, I want it for him just as bad.
Wonderful. Well, best of luck this weekend, Holly Holm. We're hoping to see a huge fight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.